You know what's fascinating? Right now, while you're watching this, there are millions of people scrolling through social media who haven't posted a single photo of themselves in months, maybe even years. And no, they're not hiding from anything dramatic. They're just living their lives completely differently than the rest of us. If you're one of these people, keep watching because I'm about to explain exactly why you do what you do, and honestly, it might surprise even you. Let's talk about the silent observers. These are the people who show up to every event, they're at every party, they're living their best lives, but when you check their profile, it's like they don't exist. Maybe it's a profile picture from 3 years ago or worse, just a random sunset or their pet. And here's the thing that most people don't understand. This isn't about being antisocial or having low self-esteem. It's actually way deeper than that. These people have figured something out that the rest of us are still struggling with. They've realized that their life doesn't need an audience to be valid. When was the last time you did something fun and didn't immediately think about how it would look on your story? For these people, that thought never even crosses their mind. They're at the beach enjoying the waves, not thinking about angles and lighting. They're at dinner actually tasting their food instead of photographing it from 6 different positions. But let me tell you what's really going on in their heads. First, there's the overwhelming fear of judgment. And before you say, oh, they're just insecure, hold on. According to research from the Pew Research Center, about 70% of adults say they feel anxious about how they're perceived on social media. That's not just a few insecure people, that's most of us. But while some people push through that anxiety and post anyway, these silent observers have simply opted out of the game entirely. They've done the mental math and decided that the temporary validation from likes isn't worth the permanent anxiety of being watched. And honestly, can you blame them? Every photo you post is like leaving a piece of yourself out there for the world to judge, critique, and screenshot forever. Then there's the privacy angle, and this is where it gets interesting. These people value their privacy like it's gold, because in today's world, it basically is. They don't want their location tracked, they don't want people knowing what they're doing every second of every day. And they definitely don't want their photos floating around the internet where anyone can save them or use them in ways they never intended. They've seen the horror stories. They know that once something is online, it's online forever. So they protect themselves by simply not participating. It's like they're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. They're thinking 3 moves ahead about what could go wrong, while the rest of us are just hoping for a few likes. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting, and this is the midpoint where things really click. These silent observers have an entirely different relationship with memories than people who post constantly. Think about your own photos for a second. How many of them were taken because you genuinely wanted to capture a moment versus how many were taken because you wanted to show people you were having a good time? Be honest with yourself. For people who don't post, every photo they take is for them. It's not performed, it's not staged, it's not filtered to oblivion. It's real. They're collecting memories, not content, and there's something incredibly pure about that. While you're stressing about whether your photo got enough likes in the first hour, they're already moved on to the next experience, because that moment was never about external validation. There's also this whole thing about authenticity that these people have mastered without even trying. See, when you don't post photos, you never have to worry about your online persona matching your real life. You know those people whose Instagram looks like a highlight reel of perfection, but in real life they're struggling just like everyone else? The silent observers never have that problem. They never have to maintain a fake version of themselves because they never created one in the first place. Their friends know them for who they actually are, not who they pretend to be in carefully curated posts. And that's incredibly freeing. They don't have to remember what lie they told or what image they're trying to project. They just exist as themselves, and people can either accept that or not. Let's talk about the creative side too, because this matters. Some of these people are actually deeply creative, but they express it differently. Instead of turning their life into content, they might write, they might paint, they might make music, or they might just enjoy things without feeling the need to prove they enjoyed them. They've escaped the trap of performing their life for an audience. Everything isn't a potential post. A beautiful sunset is just a beautiful sunset, not an opportunity for engagement. A fun night with friends is just not raw material for a story series. They've reclaimed their experiences from the content machine, and in doing so, they've actually their lives richer, not poorer. And here's something that might blow your mind. These people often have deeper, more meaningful relationships than people who are constantly posting. Why? Because when you're not distracted by documenting everything, you're actually present. You're listening when people talk. You're noticing the little details. You're connecting on a human level instead of thinking about how this interaction will look to your followers. Their friends aren't props in their content, they're actual friends. And that difference, as subtle as it seems, changes everything about how those relationships feel and function. But there's a flip side we need to talk about, and this is important. Some people who don't post are actually struggling with something deeper. Maybe they genuinely don't feel good about how they look. Maybe they're going through a tough time and don't questions. Maybe they're dealing with depression and just don't have the energy to maintain a social media presence. And that's valid too. We shouldn't romanticize every choice people make or assume everyone who doesn't post is some enlightened being who's figured life out. Sometimes people are just hurting, and the last thing they want is to pretend everything is fine for the internet. So, if you're someone who doesn't post and you're struggling, that's okay. You don't owe anyone a performance of happiness. The truth is, people who don't post their photos have figured out something crucial. You can live a full, rich, meaningful life without documenting every second of it. They've realized that memories don't need to be validated by strangers to be real. They've understood that privacy is valuable. They've accepted that they don't need to compete in the attention economy. And maybe, just maybe, they're onto something that the rest of us should pay attention to. Because at the end of your life, what's going to matter more? The thousands of likes you got, or the actual experiences you had? The people who were really there with you, or the followers who double-tapped and moved on? So whether you're someone who posts every day or someone who hasn't posted in years, the question isn't which approach is right. The question is, are you doing what works for you, or are you doing what you think you're supposed to do? Are you living your life, or are you performing it? And that's something only you can answer. If this resonated with you, whether you're a serial poster or a silent observer, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me, are you post everything or team post nothing? I genuinely want to know what drives your decision, because this conversation is way more interesting than most people think. Let's talk about it.